Good evening. I'm Gary Rakes, President of Speedway Town Council. I'd like to welcome all those in attendance and those maybe watching at home to the Speedway Town Council meeting. This is July 10th, 2017, and it's 7 p.m. As we get going here, I'd like to introduce those participating in the meeting this evening and then move to our agenda. So to my far right is Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
To my immediate right is Vice President of the Council, Jeff Matthews.
Good evening.
To my left is David Lindsay, Councilor in District 5.
Good evening.
And to his left is Jason Delisle, also a Town Councilor.
Good evening.
And our Town Manager, Jacob Blaisdell.
Good evening, Speedway.
And our Clerk Treasurer, Monty Combs.
Good evening.
Would everyone rise, please, salute the flag, and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Happy belated July 4th, everyone. And the first couple of items on the agenda besides the pledge are review of minutes from previous council meetings. On June 26th, we had a regular town council meeting, and we also had an executive session before that town council meeting. The memorandum on the executive session and minutes for the actual council meeting were distributed prior to the meeting. Are there any changes or comments on those from the council? We'll go ahead and accept those as distributed. We're going to move, this is often common in the summer months. We have a fairly brief agenda this evening, so we're going to move right to reports from our department supervisors. Tim Gropp with Economic Development.
Good evening, Council. For the record, Tim Gropp, Economic Development Director. Just a couple brief updates. The main one being on the Wilshaw project. We continue to work towards a timeline. We're hoping in the next few weeks to have a closing date on the project. I do want to inform the council that they have exercised one of the options in the Economic Development Agreement to extend the timeline to close to August 9th. We were originally pushing to get closed by the end of July. They have one more option they could exercise. We're hoping to get everything done by that August 9th timeline. We have bi-weekly calls trying to get to the end here of all the due diligence. So some of that is dependent on easements and other agreements we need with Praxair, our neighbor. So we're hoping to work with them and get those sped through the process as quickly as possible. So we'd like to close this sooner than later so that we can start construction, so we can at least get the footers in the ground prior to the winter construction season, as once the footers are in the ground, we can move pretty quickly. If we don't get the footers in the ground, then we'll lose the whole winter construction season. So pushing to the end, just want you to be up to date that we have extended it into August. We're just trying to get to that August deadline, and as soon as we know a closing date, we'll let you know. Also, since we will be owning it in July still, the property that is, we will be parking it for the Brickyard 400. So we're working with the same groups we did during May, in particular the band and the robotics club, to help us do that and help give some money back to the local schools as well. So the only other update is we continue to field proposals and at least conversations on proposals for the 2500 high school road property. The more we get into it, the more due diligence we're finding ourselves needing to do, but we are getting a lot of interest now, which is good. So we haven't rushed to a decision. We haven't sat down with anybody in particular, but in the next few weeks, we hope to have some of those proposals in, then we can sit down, analyze them, and then present that to the SRC to see if they want to make a decision to move forward on 2500 High School Road, or if we need a little bit more time to handle some of that due diligence.
Any questions for Tim? Thanks for your report, Tim.
Thank you.
Our Assistant Chief of Police, Chuck Upchurch.
Evening, Council. I will be brief. As we all know, we got our next race coming up a week from Sunday, Brickyard 400. Just as a reminder to the residents that we will begin our parking enforcement on Thursday, July 20th at 6 p.m. That will run through July 23rd at 8 p.m. we know we're not going to have any rain, so we're not going to worry about the rain date. So, also, the Holler Parade, as we all know, has been moved to Friday, July 21st, so there will be closure on Main Street from 2:30 to 8:30 on Friday. And just as an update, today we began our oral interview portion of our applicant process. We began interviewing 57 applicants, so those interviews will continue through Thursday. So that's all I have.
I have one
Question?
question. Well, it's
Yes.
not more of a question, but I
Yes.
think Monty wants to get involved, well, doesn't want to get involved, but is going to get involved in this. There's been some issues with the dispatch center and rainwater and leaking and the roof, and I guess there was an issue where the roof was repaired or kind of replaced, and water leaked in, and the dispatch center was moved for a couple weeks. If you can
Yes.
kind of touch on that, and Monty, if you want to kind of give us an
Yes, well, we had
stands right now,
the,
please.
Sure.
the roof to the building, of course, we know was very old and it was repaired. And unfortunately, when it was repaired, the ventilation system in the building brought some of the fumes from the roofing compound into the building. And dispatch seemed to be the larger focus of that because we have an air conditioner unit that sits right above dispatch and it draws that air in there. So in an effort to make sure that it didn't affect the employees, we moved it off-site to Perry it was about 2 weeks. They dispatched from the Perry site. And then the roofing company came back. We tried to ventilate the building. We did everything we could to clear it out. And finally, I don't know that there are any fumes in there now. So, I mean, you can't detect them. I can't detect them in the building. So we did have an air quality test done also. So then from there, we had an issue with a leak in the roof. And unfortunately, the last 2 Fridays, we had torrential downpours. And now the good news is this last Friday, we had another torrential downpour after they came to fix it. And to my knowledge, we don't have any water coming into the roof of the ceiling of dispatch. So it wasn't a tremendous amount of water that was coming in, but it was still leaking. So, and at this point, we are pretty sure that that's fixed. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed on that. But like I said, last Friday night with the rains we had, we didn't have any reports of any water coming into the ceiling. So.
Okay. I just wanted the public to be aware. I know that was a lot of work going on behind the scenes from you and the chief, and Monty was involved because it was the crew that did the town hall roof, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
So,
correct.
all right. Thanks, chief.
And I have, if I can real quick, I have an updated, Chief, I was out on Friday. There were water tests done by the roofing company, and they found no leaks from the roof itself. And the roof they put on, by the way, it's a 10-year warranty, whatever they call it, they put on there. What they found in the first test, they found that the air conditioning unit closest to the dispatch had a faulty something in there. Again, I don't know what those products are like. The people that installed those last fall came in on Thursday. They realized there was an issue there. They fixed it and said we shouldn't have any problems anymore for the leaks. So I know it's been leaking for a number of years from everything I understand.
And if we didn't get rain out of a leak out of last Friday's rain, I think we're in pretty good shape. So,
Great.
I wasn't here for that, so good.
Yes.
Glad to hear that.
thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you. Chief Bob Fishburne.
Thank you. Yeah, it did affect that whole building, but I think they've got it taken care of, so we're glad to. So I just have a few things. I do want to ask the public that if they know someone, our application process is also open. They can visit the town website to get all the information and the hiring procedure for the fire department. It's open until July the 19th. Applications have to be in by the 21st, but they can go to the town website. There's a link that'll take them right to it. They can pick up applications at the town hall, and I think we're through our first 50 or close to it being passed out. So would encourage people to do that. Also, getting ready for the Brickyard, really not nearly the task it is, especially when you've had the month of May to kind of prepare you. But also wanted to put on your radar, it's something that's not going to happen until next January, but Assistant Chief Lynch through the Texas A&M, the text that Marathon sent some of our guys to just for the butane when it came on board, actually Tex and that program received a fire grant, and they are paying for people to come for industrial firefighting. So we just kind of thought, with things getting geared up at Heritage Crystal Clean, with all the industry that we have, we would send 6 of our guys. It's during 2 different weeks. It's in a time where it shouldn't really hit us with overtime, but everything's paid for except their meals, their flights, and all of that. And we're going to send guys that did not go for the butane training. We're going to send guys that are ride-out guys who, when officers are off, are in the seats. We'll have 2 guys from each shift, and they'll come back and do some training for their own shifts. But just a program that now that we've sent guys, Chief Lynch checked, found that we can do it for free. It's great training because of what we've got going on down on Main Street and all of those things. It also gives us some bandwidth. If we have an incident, we know that there's a good chance 2 guys have been there as a resource for our battalion chiefs, and they can come back and also pass that along. So just want to really, kind of give some kudos to Chief Lynch for finding that, because now that we're involved with that, he gets emails and phone calls and those sorts of things and researches it down. And if it doesn't cost us anything, it's always really good. Monty tends to like that sort of thing. So free. Free. So that's really all I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I believe Wendell Walters is out this evening, so we'll go straight to Waterworks and Mary Armacross.
Thank you. Everything's going well at the Water Department. For about the past month, we've been on groundwater. There's quite a bit of algae in the creek, and that leads to taste and odors in the water, so we've shut that down and are using groundwater. We expect to be back up at the end of this week. We've got a little bit of maintenance we're going to do, and we're waiting for those counts to get a little bit lower, but everything's running pretty well. And not much else going on with us.
Groundwater levels are pretty high, I would think.
Oh,
with
yeah.
all the rain we've had.
Yeah, we've never had an issue, even during the droughts, we've had plenty of groundwater. We're very lucky.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Wastewater, Norm Berry.
Good evening. One of the biggest fears that we have at the wastewater treatment plant is to be totally out of power. So with all the pumps and motors and everything, it's a fairly noisy environment. Well, that fear became a reality on June the 29th at 3 o'clock in the morning. We had a power outage. I think basically it was a breaker failure more than a power outage. So we lost power. The standby generator came on. It ran for about 10 minutes and then it failed. So then my midnight operators went in and tried to reset the main breaker that feeds the IPL power, and it would not re-engage. So they ran back out and they restarted the generator. This all started at 3 o'clock in the morning. It would run for about 10-15 minutes and it would fail. So they had to do that all morning long. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we were able to get a hold of our generator service provider, and they came out and got to checking our generator and said that we had a bad voltage regulator and that it would probably be Monday before they could fix it. And I said, well, we got an issue here because this thing won't keep running. We can't re-engage back to IPL power. We need a generator. So they got on the horn and they were able to locate a portable generator large enough to run the facility. And they busted their fannies to get it out there. Then he had to wire it into our existing standby generator so that it could get the loop. And by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were on that portable generator. We still could not re-engage into IPL power. So we got our electrical contractor out, and the main breaker went bad. And I think if you recall, we've had this issue before. So he got busy and was able to locate a breaker in Colorado, had it shipped overnight. And in the meantime, we had to have a separate diesel fuel tank brought out so that we would have enough diesel fuel to run overnight. So we had a lot of different things going on through this situation. But anyway, the electrical contractor found this breaker, he had it overnighted, he installed it on the 30th, and we were back on IPL power about 5 o'clock on the 30th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. In the meantime, our standby generator has been repaired, so now everything is back to normal with the new breaker, and our standby generator is repaired and back in service. It was a pretty scary thing because when you lose all that power, the first thing you think about is you're going to have a backup in our main 72 interceptor, basements could back up, we could lose untreated wastewater to the Eagle Creek. We had no environmental issue whatsoever. We were able to contain everything. Kudos to my staff. Having those spare tanks there, we were able to utilize those, plus the space in the 72-inch. So we just kept babysitting it and moving things around, and we prevented an environmental catastrophe. So from the course of 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday to 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, we were back. Almost a miracle. So I wanted to publicly thank our electrical contractor, Jan Electric, for being able to get this breaker in as quick as he did and installing it. Buckeye Power for getting the portable generator out and because without that, we would have had to try to do this all night, Thursday night into Friday morning. So for them to locate this portable generator was pretty lucky also. And then for Co-Alliance to bring out the spare tank, so we would have plenty of diesel fuel to run. But last but not least, my staff. They really, my maintenance people came in and babysat all night long with the generator, so all in all, it could have been much worse.
Norm, you said this is the second time the main breaker's failed?
This is actually this is the third.
What do we think the root cause is?
The electrical contractor seems to think, Jan Electric, that over periods of time when we might get, because we've had power failures off and on, where we lose power, we'll have a surge in the power, that over time it weakens this breaker. And this breaker has like 3 different CTs in it, and if one CT gets weak and fails, then the whole breaker's gone. You can't repair them, you can't do anything. I've checked with IPL on numerous occasions to see if they've had any issues. They say that they go back to their records and don't find anything. This is the third breaker, not counting the original one. So I'm working with them right now. The electrical contractor had an idea of maybe we could put in a large fused type electrical entrance. They would basically use these real large fuses, and then if we would have a problem, blowing a $300 fuse is a lot better than blowing an $8,000 breaker, not counting the labor. So he's working on that to see if we can come up with a solution. Other than that, we can't really determine exactly why these breakers are failing. I mean, the original breaker before our 2012 project, I mean, that original breaker lasted for 20 plus years. So we really can't come up with a reasonable explanation.
keep us informed on that. Any other comments or questions from council?
Just great work by your staff, and
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 5 on the agenda. It's approval of claims and utility adjustments and a report from our clerk treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would appreciate approval of the claims that I've submitted to the council from June the 24th through July the 6th, which was last Thursday. They're pretty typical, with the exception of obviously the end of the summer camps of the parks. I know there's a number of checks in there for staff that got them through that during the summer, or spring and summer.
is that through the parks, or is that what the school reimburses us for?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the claims as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the claims. Any questions from the council? I did have one question, and I know Wendell is not here this evening, so may not be able to answer this, but it's kind of what the two large claims on the last page are the total about just over $300,000. Yardberry Landscape Excavating.
That was, they were the contractor who handled the drainages in the park. You know this better than I do, Norm. Was back in the alleys, is that correct?
Yeah, that was the Main Street Alley project.
Okay, thank you very much.
West side.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions from council? Any from the audience? Okay, all those in favor of approving the claims as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Also on the utility adjustments, same time frame, June 24th through the 6th of July. Very short list again, which was very good. Really pleased with that, so I appreciate your approval.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the utility adjustments as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the utility adjustments. Any comments from the audience or from the council? Any from the audience? All those in favor of approving the adjustments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those carry 5-0 also. Anything else, Monty?
Just one other thing real quick, if I may. We had our utility biller, Sarah Adams, has done a fabulous job in what she's done in that job in the last couple of years now. And we had to file the liens that we talk about twice a year. We recovered, in total, we recovered about $80,000 that was out there, wasn't paid. Through the actual lien process, it was about $44,000 of that. The prepayment before the liens was previous before that. We also had an apartment that was sold that had a very large bill, and she stated to have them, and we got the full $60,000 back that they owed us, so without any real hassle, so it worked out great. Doing a good job. All of them are, for that matter. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Report from our town manager.
Thanks, Mr. President. As Chief Fishburne mentioned, they're currently seeking applicants for the fire EMS position. We're also looking for a new parks director. That is out there on our website as well as LinkedIn. You can apply. If you're interested, we're going to be closing that on Monday, the 17th, so next Monday. If you're interested and think you would do a good job and be a great asset to the community, please apply. Also want to thank everybody for observing the fireworks ordinance in the parks. I guess last year it was a problem, and appreciate the police and Parks and Street Department for enforcing and everybody observing the signs. And I understand the parks looked really good the following day on the 5th, so thank you for that. Did want to take a second to provide a quick update on the dry run ditch project. I know that's a concern for a lot of folks. The project itself physically is done, so we've built what needs to be built, and that project is closed out. It is with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. They take a look at the work that we've done, run their models, make sure that it's going to function the way that we think it's going to function. They've done their initial process. We've got some comments back, so we do know that it's working its way through DNR. After we resolve their comments, it goes to FEMA, which is the final authority on whether or not the flood maps change. We feel confident that they're going to change, but it's just, has to go through the process, so appreciate everyone's patience. I know the bottom line question is, has it changed yet? And the answer is no. We're somewhat at the mercy of the state and federal powers that be, but certainly working on that process as quickly as we can. Also just want to mention, for anybody here, you probably saw the many signs, but the 80th Annual St. Christopher Midsummer Festival is about to kick off on Thursday, so that'll be going on. Just a quick reminder, you can still access Town Hall through 15th Street, but it gets blocked there kind of at the entrance of Town Hall, so you'll see a lot of activity, but just know that you can still get into Town Hall on Thursday and Friday. In Wendell's absence, I do have a couple of more street department-related updates. So the 16th and Lyndhurst, there's an intersection improvement. Those bids are going to go on July 12th, so this week. And also I brought this up during the last meeting, but the paving project up in kind of the northeast corner of town up by the track is still ongoing. So appreciate everyone's patience, appreciate you observing the temporary no parking signs, and as I said last time, please just, if you see the construction coming up, as much as possible, try to go around it or avoid it altogether if you can. It's safer for the workers, better for the road project as well. We are putting in an application for the Community Crossings Grant. Those will go in tomorrow. It's a state program where we get matched for road projects. And then, as a lot of people have noticed, the Marathon pipeline clearing is continuing along the B&O Trail. That's going well, but I've gotten a couple of questions, but it sounds like for the most part they've been able to communicate and reach homeowners. But if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call my office or the street department. And then last but not least, as Assistant Chief Upchurch mentioned, everyone's getting ready for the Brickyard. Just please remember, I know Chief Upchurch said this, but be aware that parking restrictions are going to be in effect, and they're going to have to enforce that. Just the number of people that are coming through town has to be done, and just please be the welcoming, friendly community that we always are. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Next item would be report from counselors. Jason, do you have anything this evening?
Nope, nothing for me.
Counselor Lindsay?
I'd just like to welcome back our students that went to Verano on our sister city group. They came back 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. Look forward to hearing their stories. That's all I have.
Counselor Fisher?
I have nothing, thank you.
And Vice President Matthews?
I just go back to Norm's report. It's pretty amazing the work that you guys have done, and we all can sleep well at night not knowing what's going on. So thank you very much for all your hard work. Appreciate it. That's it.
Great, thank you. I have nothing to report this evening, so I'll go ahead and, unless there's something else that somebody has, we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:29.